As you might guess from this first photo, I've got a twin sister. That's Harriet over there. And one of the things I always associate being a twin with is the stuff that people always say when they find out. So things like, ooh, how do you tell the difference? Or can you tell what each other are thinking? Or my personal favorite, but yeah, you're basically the same person. And this stuff used to always, and still does, really annoy me. Although Harriet and I are identical, we're also obviously different people. How can you have one person walking around in two different bodies at the same time? Then again, I bet that's one thought that every one of you here tonight has once had. What with midterms looming, work to do, and that really important party to go to, how many of you here have once said, why can't I be in two places at once? There you go. The amazing reality is that there are loads of different ways which you can be in two places at once. One of the ways we could do this is if we make ourselves really, really, really small. One of the paradoxes of the physical world is that the tiny particles that make all of us up don't have to behave in the same way that we do. Quantum physics, the science of the very small, that states not only is it possible for a particle to be in many places at the same time, it's often necessary. So if we can make ourselves that small, we could be in two places at once. But what would that even be like? Would it be like having one mind shared across lots of different bodies? Can you even separate your mind and body like that? And if we could, what would it be like to have 4 sets of arms? What would it be like to have 2 sets of eyes with 2 different viewpoints of the world? Could your psychology even make sense of that? Would you even be able to multitask? So if we're small enough, we can be in 2 places at once. But that's not particularly helpful when you actually have to physically type up something or flirt around at a party. Luckily, in the real world, we have a much better solution than this kind of trippy quantum self. Why don't we just make a literal copy of ourselves? Science fiction is full of these ideas. Doppelgangers created to do their master's bidding. Even better yet, it's a reality today in this world. Cloning's been around for almost 2 decades now, and Dolly's sheep, the first ever clone, was created here in Edinburgh. Sadly, this is one of the cases where the reality is much more dull than fiction. I am a literal clone. I have the same DNA as Harriet. We even had the same initial life experiences. From a scientific point of view, I am in 2 places at once. The physical definition of what it is to be me is at once standing here talking to you now and simultaneously walking down south, hopefully behaving itself. But if we look beyond that, it's also clear that Harriet and I are different people. We've got different memories, different experiences. We make decisions independent of one another. And this might be disappointing. We don't share thoughts and feelings. So why can't you be in 2 places at once? Not because of any physical limitation. Even if you could shrink yourself small enough or copy yourselves exactly, what makes you you can't be physically contained. And that's great, that's special, that's wonderful. That means every one of you here is unique in a way that no one can take away from you. You all individually have a special viewpoint of the world. And what I want you to do with this viewpoint is go off and ask your own silly questions. Think outside the box, be crazy, be silly. Challenge the status quo of what it is to problem solve. Challenge the status quo about what kind of questions worth asking. And you might just surprise yourself with the answers. And if you haven't already worked it out, I'm the one in the green. Thank you.